Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And now, a bhajan sung by Sanchari.
Om Tat Sat. Today I will be singing a Krishna bhajan. Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare, He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare, He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Pitmat Swami Sakha Hamare, Pitmat Swami Sakha Hamare, He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. Shri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare, He Nath Narayana Vasudeva. तुम में वास करे जग सारा, तुम जननी के उधर मधारा. तुम में वास करे जग सारा, तुम जननी के उधर मझारा. नाथ चतुर्भुज अंतर्यामी, लघु विराट रूपों के स्वामी. लघु विराट रूपों के स्वामी. सूक्ष्म रूप धर गर्भ पधारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. बंदी गृह के तुम अवतारे, कहीं जन्मे कहीं पले मुरारी. बंदी गृह के तुम अवतारे, कहीं जन्मे कहीं पले मुरारी. किसी के जाए किसी के सहाय, है अद्भुत हर बात तिहारी. गोकुल में चमके मथुरा के तारे, गोकुल में चमके मथुरा के तारे. हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. अधर पे बंसी हृदय में राधे, बट गए दोनों में आधे आधे. अधर पे बंसी हृदय में राधे, बट गए दोनों में आधे आधे. हे राधा नादर हे भक्त वत्सल, सदैव भक्तों के काम साधे. वहीं गए वहीं गए वहीं गए, जहाँ गए पुकारे. हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा. श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे, हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेव. राधे कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे राधे कृष्ण कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे कृष्ण राधे Radhe Radhe Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe Krishna Krishna.
We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is September the 23rd, 2018, Sunday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is series 2018, class number 16. And now, Pujya Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2. Chapter is known as Sankhya Yoga. It's yoga of knowledge, not intellectual knowledge, absolute knowledge. Just intellectual knowledge in yoga philosophy is just dull wit. You know everything. The data, how distant the sun is, how distant is Mars, what's the distance between the sun and the Mars. I can go and say. There's a lot of knowledge. But that type of knowledge is not the knowledge. The knowledge is, have you known yourself? Who am I? Presently, we are dealing with Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, characteristics of one who has attained enlightenment. And that's the project before everyone. That's what you have to attain. Otherwise, all your knowledge is just the knowledge of the lizards and squirrels. Probably they have more knowledge, but some points have been already touched upon. I'm just enumerating them. For one who is enlightened, all desires move away. Kamana tyag. Can that state be attained? And you are always working for it. You don't wait for listening to any answer. You are always working for fulfilling your expectations. And expectations go on emerging from your unconscious like a whole flock of flying ants. Figure that out. The expectations have no end. But what is that state where all your desires completely calm down, not calm down, vanish? That state is called param tripti, absolute satisfaction, literal meaning. And all this Put it another way, is realizing God as your object of infinite love. There's always an urge in every individual, in every living being, to love, to find fulfillment of love. But what is that state where the urge of love attains absolute fulfillment? That's the state of. If you have not attained that, then your soul goes on working. Just to give you an idea, even in one single life, there's lots of problems when you deal with love. And come to many embodiments. In each embodiment you have worked hard. You have enjoyed fulfillment of love as well as frustrations arising out of love. And ultimately ends up, ek dil ke tukde hajar hue. Your heart has broken into countless pieces. Some have gone into Alaska, some have gone to Australia. Some went to five embodiments back. That urge is absolutely fulfilled by realizing God. Realizing God in the beginning is kind of your meeting God. You become the lover, God becomes beloved. God is the lover, you are the beloved. That relation. And then finally, there is absolutely no difference. That state of enlightenment, that state of experience, that's what soul is hungering for. What is that knowing which all is known? What is that loving whom all is loved? And good news, it's possible. It's possible even during your own lifetime. And that type of inner understanding must develop. That's the purpose of Satsanga. In that process, do not be distracted by pleasure and pain. Allow your mind to experience serenity. Put it another way, balance of mind. Don't let your mind sway. You are carrying something wonderful on your head, a nectar, a jar filled with nectar. Now, walk in such a way that you don't spill that nectar. Pleasure and pain, these are the two big temptations which drive you to spill the nectar. So neither pleasure nor pain. You have nothing to gain from this world. Hold the nectar. Nectar of your aspiration for God realization. That's your goal. All losses are not real losses. All gains are not real gains. However, don't become impractical. All teachings are meant to promote an understanding that belongs to a higher level, higher dimension. The more you understand, you are more skilled in performing your daily duties. In practical world, you do not miss anything important. Rather, utilize all resources in a more relaxed, with a relaxed mind. But at deeper level, you continue to experience complete detachment. Another aspect, these are all different angles to understand the state of enlightenment. To become free of Trishna, Krodha and Bhaya. Trishna means craving. There is three-aspected craving. It is interpreted in two ways. Everyone, putreshana, you want to leave a legacy of your children and grandchildren, and how wonderful it is. You have become a grandmother or grandfather. Congratulations. I'm not underestimating that. That's a difference. But that's not the ultimate goal. But then human beings have that's the only dream of prosperity. That's called putreshana. Next, vitteshana. You have a lot of money. So that your son, grandson, great-great-grandson continue without worrying about money. And then location. You have a lot of popularity, lot of power. No one is like, you are a Nobel Prize winner, and so forth. Remember, I'm not discouraging people from gaining power, etc. But I'm just giving you an idea. That's not the ultimate goal. Because you gain all that, and then what happens? You kick the bucket. So, one has to become wise. How to live your life with inner stability. And that happens if you become Godward movement. So, another aspect of Trishna, three illusions, three types of craving. Craving that relates to your prosperity or your health or your stability. But in order to be stable within yourself, you want the world around you also match up to your expectations. And then, third point, your experiences of pleasure and pain. They must be in such a way that your life ends up with joyousness. That's called Trishna. Every soul is hankering for. But that Trishna will be fulfilled, complete fulfillment. If you come to realize, just like in dream, there are three aspects. Dream subject, that's always wanting to do something in the dream world. And there is a big dream world, the sky, the earth, the mountain, and anything. And you have further possibility. You can even fly in the dream. And then you have your pleasure and pain in your dream, your concept of gain and loss. All the three of the dream are not real. But to make your dream positive, all the three must improve. How you find yourself in your dream, what type of subject, where do you land in your dream, and what are your experiences. Human mind is constantly working in these three directions. Same applies, what you experience in dream, same applies in waking state. You don't know yourself. Even for smallest little trouble, you have to ask a doctor. Sit in the waiting room for hours. I'm not discouraging that. The human predicament. You don't know about your body. You don't know about your mind. And therefore you are always trying to learn. Satsanga opens the door to different insights. And your experiences of gain and loss, all these are delusional, not real. That Krishna, led by your karma, you go on moving in this type of relative state of consciousness, where things are in three aspects: you, the world, and your experiences through your mind and senses. These three aspects, they are always out of your control. Should a person live like that all the time? Where is real fulfillment? But real fulfillment, when you have a complete understanding that all the three is I am. You say that's a big project. Think of your dream. In dream, all the three were quite lost, out of your understanding, your subject, the dream world, and the dream experiences. And when you wake up, an understanding that every of the three, you alone were the reality behind it. Similar experience waits, and that's your real goal, the revelation of truth. That truth is waiting. Sarvatra anasakti, you begin to develop a sense of detachment. Things happen, you deal with them, but the idea of clinging to everything around you, that idea doesn't enter your mind. The sky handles all the clouds, but the idea, let me cling to this soft cloud, that it shouldn't go anywhere. How cozy. But that idea doesn't exist. Now we continue, the 59th verse. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopasya param drishtva nivartate. When one abstains from sense enjoyments, the objects turn away from him, but their taste continues to linger in his mind. But even this taste turns away from him when the Supreme Self is realized. When you are told that all sense enjoyments and all prosperity and all the popularity are meaningless, the mind develops a quick resolution. First you say, yes, understand that. Now therefore, I will not be with this world. Or go into that remote corner where world will not touch me. So now the mind starts imagining, where is that place where you are out of this world? But the mind is in a skid state. It doesn't know. It develops its own imagination. And that imagination, again, leads people to different ways. Sometimes, most people, having listened to Vairagya and dispassion, they abruptly renounce everything they do and go into a style of life that becomes extremely impractical, and adopt certain style of sadhana, like since rasa, Vishaya rasa gives all the trouble, I will have no rasa. No rasa. I will not eat. Karmas give all the trouble, I will do no karma. Finish. Since attachments give all the trouble, I will avoid all people. And then they come to a satisfaction that they have done that, what the scriptures have said. But what is really happening? Mind is very keen. Firstly, your desires for enjoying objects, they have not gone, because you have not confronted them and you have not understood them. Your desires are hiding. And while they are hiding in your subconscious, they are strengthening themselves. So your illusions become strong. Your desires, subtle desires, become much more strong than you can imagine. And your attachment becomes exceedingly gross. You become attached to a particular cave. You attach to a particular tree. And so forth. Resolution comes. Simple answer is bringing integral yoga in your life. Allow your energy to be utilized. A river must flow on in order to be pure. If you become stagnant in any level, stagnancy is not calmness. Transparency is real mystic stillness. So that's the point is being. When one abstains from sense enjoyments, the objects turn away from him. That's physically, you are not keeping yourself close to the objects that you used to love. So they are out of your sight. But their taste continues to linger in your mind. But if this taste turns away from him when the Supreme Self is realized, that taste, what's termed as vasana, subtle desires, ultimate resolution is enlightenment. By realizing God, realizing who am I, you have found the source of all rasa, all delight. Just like the sun is the source of all illuminations. If you have found the sun, you don't have to go after numerous illuminations. If you have attained enlightenment, then you don't go after anything else. This part needs to be listened to, meditated upon again and again, because the mind cannot easily grasp it. And your process of grasping is in degrees. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashchitah indriyani pramatini haranti prasabham manah. O Arjuna, son of Kunti, this Krishna is talking to Arjuna, and that's how the whole Gita is presented. The turbulent senses carry away violently the mind of even a wise man who is striving to control them. One has to understand the subtlety of controlling the senses. The simple answer that mind gives, starve the senses, don't give them any food. Eyes give you so much trouble. Keep them patched up. Gandhari chose that. Speaking brings a lot of trouble. You will be surprised. There have been people in India who made vow of keeping mauna and maintained it for 12 years and more, and ended up attaining nothing. They had to go through learning how to speak. So, controlling the senses is not as simple as it is said. It's a mystic art. Sometimes you are allowing the senses to enjoy, and at the same time you reach the height of controlling the senses. Example, just this, what is happening right now. You are listening, but those words are bringing you delight. And it's an enjoyment, sex and others, object enjoyment, sense enjoyment. And what the enjoyment is giving you is a deeper understanding, not to be confined to your senses. So, it is the same practice of controlling the senses, and yet you don't even know that you are controlling them. That art has to develop. If all your senses begin to operate, or you allow them to operate, again, you understand it's a progressive. Allow the senses to awaken higher feeling within your heart. I'll give you a crude illustration. A beautiful deer comes to a person, forgets about the mummy and comes to a human being, and the human being is a meat eater. He loves puts his hand and touches the deer all over. I'm trying to give a gross illustration. Same touch. Think from another angle. Someone who loves the deer, the soul of the deer, the grace of the deer, and wants to help the deer baby to grow. Outward aspect is the same, hand is moving. One movement of the hand is dumping you into illusion. Another movement, lifting you up. Senses play both parts. To not be senseless. And that must be applied in every stage of your life. Parents loving their children, they must begin to understand God within them makes the children so. They are loving God in helping a child to grow. In every relation, friends, husband, wife, and so forth. You are helping each other to arouse divine feeling. And to that extent, all relations become positive, joyous. But if your whole vision is completely limited, you are helping someone because someone will give you money. You are serving someone, and so forth. I will not give you that. To me, is too crude. But that's the predicament of the masses. All relations, the grahasthas, so many, the moment they look at son born to them, they are very happy. Girl born to them, we did. Yeah. They start thinking, yes, we married. Don't want to disturb you. The turbulent senses carry away violently the mind of even a wise man who is striving to control them. So first point I was trying to explain to you, don't control them with that bully-headed mind. Artistically utilize your energy in such a way that automatically the senses follow the mind, and then they are much more relaxed. And the eyes are seeing something, and it brings to your mind immense joy, and your heart is expanding. Physically, your eyes get healthier. That when senses are not under your control, when you have not lived that, adopted that style of life, a life that brings in karma yoga, bhakti yoga, dhyana yoga, raja yoga, that means 4 yogas come in harmony. Action, emotion, will and reason, all 4. When they come in harmony, the whole process is called integral yoga. You do actions, but there is a purpose behind it. Allow your feelings to be more joyous and profound. Allow your understanding to be more purposeful. Allow your will to be more dynamic. All this, when they begin to grow in your personality, then you really enjoy who you are, real health. But if these 4 are not in harmony, your physical body may be in a very healthy state, but your real picture is very crooked. Photography is good. Real picture of your personality is demoniac. Even a wise man who is striving to control them, they fail. The illustration I'm giving you, I will give you one illustration from the scriptures. The story of Narada. In the scriptures, Narada plays many roles. Whenever scripture wants to give something profound, they use Narada as a scapegoat. But apart from that humor, Narada practiced intense austerity and meditation to enhance his inner growth. And during that time, Indra became afraid that Narada is trying to become the Lord of heaven. So always, all these stories, Indra now presented various temptations and asked Kamadeva, the Cupid god, to exercise all his force to bring Narada out of his meditative state, to break his continuity of austerity. And Kama, Cupid god, did all and couldn't succeed. Ultimately, Cupid god fell at the feet of Narada and asked for forgiveness. And Narada forgave him, of course. But then Narada developed a subtle pride within himself that, look, even Shiva had big trouble. He had to open his third eye. And I'm Narayana Bhakta, and I have succeeded. Let me give this good news to everyone. So he goes to Brahma, and Brahma tells him, it's wonderful, but don't tell this to Vishnu. He goes to Lord Shiva. Shiva says the same thing. And he could figure out, why shouldn't I tell? Vishnu is my dearest deity. So he goes to Lord Vishnu, ignores what they had told him, and tells Lord Vishnu. Of course, Vishnu asks, where have you been? He says, I've been doing all this, and by your grace, O Lord Vishnu, even that Kama, who was hard to overcome by Shiva, I overcame him. He just moved away. Vishnu simply smiles and says, nothing is impossible for one who is so devoted. But knowing that he has developed that subtle pride, now Lord Vishnu creates his plan to free him of that pride. Narada begins to travel. He always travels according to the storyline, goes into different lokas, different planes, and he suddenly finds a kingdom he had not seen before. Everyone there in that kingdom was a totally different type of personality. He meets the king of that kingdom, who is known as Shilanidhi, literally meaning a treasure of all gentle, gracious qualities. And he had a daughter called Vishwamohini, whose gracious personality can enchant the whole world. And he meets the king, and the king tells that he is planning to have his daughter Vishwamohini to get married, and that he should see the future of this Vishwamohini, study her palm and give predictions. And Narada looks and himself becomes so fascinated by that Vishwamohini, with the mind that I have attained such victory. Who can be a better match for her than me? He doesn't say all that to the king. He simply says few good things, but not much. But in his mind, there develops that will, I must marry her. But then he looks his own feature, which is not good looking. Then he figures out, if I were to borrow Lord Vishnu's looks, no one can excel that good-looking feature. So this Vishwamohini will have no choice but to marry me. And so he invokes Lord Narayana. Oh Lord Narayana. Vishnu appears and he says, I want to marry this Vishwamohini. I deserve to marry her. And Lord Vishnu, of course, has already planned all that in his divine way. And just like a doctor would give to a patient, not exactly what the patient wants, not what will help the patient to be cured. So Vishnu says, ask anything. He says, I want to borrow your personality. They do that in marriages. Borrow good clothes. And Lord Vishnu said, oh yes. And immediately Narada looks at his hands, Lord Vishnu's hands, feet, everything. And he comes into the assembly with a great feeling that people will be thrilled. But what happens? People look, stare, and don't show any joyousness. Rather, they got scared. Wherever they go, he goes. People turn away from him. And worse, the lady comes to back with a garland to choose her match, Vishwamohini. And Narada shows himself in front of her. And she immediately turns away. So Narada goes on jumping from one place to another to face her. She moves away. The story says there were two messengers of Lord Shiva who became involved with curiosity. What's going on? Like journalists of today. And they came to Narada and said, "Oh sage, why don't you see your face? There is a little water there, little pool. Look into it. Then we'll know what's happening here." He goes and looks, sees, and to his horror, his face is a monkey face. And the body doesn't match with the monkey face. All the goodness of the body becomes more horrible. With tremendous frustration, at that very moment, Lord Vishnu comes, appears. Vishwamohini gives the mala in his neck because she is Lakshmi Devi. And Narada, with tremendous frustration, comes and curses Lord Vishnu. That you will be separated from this Devi you are marrying, and she will be a source of immense trial and test for you. And this miserable face that you have given to me, it is that face that will help you. Monkeys will help you. So that is a different type of a story, you see. But behind this whole story, the simple moral that if your control over your mind and control over temptations creates a subtle ego, then that control is not real control. Your control should not be defined by your ego. And a simple moral, that is not a simple project. When you deal with practical things, certain things you can easily do. Someone says, don't go into that car is better. But when it comes to inner world, don't follow that desire, follow that desire. That's not so easy. That has a different dimension. Tani sarvani sanjamya yukta sita matparaha vashe hi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. Having controlled his senses and having collected his mind with one-pointed devotion to me, he should sit steadfast in the self. For one whose senses are under control, his wisdom becomes steady. Subtle points are now being brought out. 4 points. First, control the senses, but the way I have explained, not with a tough control, but with the artistic understanding. Lure the senses with sattvic joy and take the senses away from going after. Purposeless pleasures. Next point, allow to develop viveka buddhi. Allow your mind to gain viveka, a type of understanding that sees the difference between truth and falsehood, between right and wrong, between self and not self, between good, real good, and what appears just pleasant, which is not, which is void of real purpose. That type of vivek has to enter. And most important point, let bhakti enter your heart. The whole process is you are trying to enjoy a loving experience. An unknown source of love is waiting for you. And that unknown is unknown but there. It's definitely there. And not far away, hiding within your own heart. And what's more, your whole personality is his personality. Let me turn your attention to the great statement, Deho Devalayo Prokto. As bhakti enters, your whole mental mindset sees things in a totally different way. Not in one movement, but gradually. How? You're handling your own body, you do it with a great sacred attitude, just like you will be in a temple and handling the temple, serving in such a way that you are removing all the dirt, etc., and thereby adoring God. You live in your body to adore God. Deho Devalayo Prokto. This body is Devalaya, temple of God. Jivo Devaha Sadashiva. And the Jiva within you, all, who is the knower, who is seeing, who is doing, who is maintaining your body, who has kept your brain intact so far. He is not far away. He is the one living in this Devalaya, in the temple. Continue to serve him until you evaporate. What you understand about yourself is illusory ego. What you understand about yourself while you are dreaming, that's not real you. So if a dream has been purposeful, your you has vanished. Tyajet ajnana nirmalyam. Live, worship in the temple to free the temple of darkness caused by ignorance. Free the temple of all the dirt, nirmalyam. Soham bhavena pujayet. I am that God. If you come to that type of ripened state, that's your highest goal. And with this I'm concluding. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
discern the truth from the lies, and tell the truth without compromise. Speak only what we realize. When we speak, let us be clear, even if we shake with fear. If we laugh or shed a tear, be true to what we hold dear. Words carry energy to make us blind or help us see, to keep us bound or set us free. It comes right down to you and me. Satnam, truth is my name. Now you see through the game of playing for fortune and for fame. All is one and the same. The truth can help us realign with our heart and with our mind. If we seek, then we shall find, and be a light for humankind. Satnam, truth is my name. Now you see through the game of playing for fortune and for fame. All is one and the same.
Thank you. Very beautiful. While we're waiting for your food to come to your lap, and while you're enjoying that delicious feast, I'd like to read you some selections that I had extracted at one point from Swamiji's writings on Devi Puja, on Navaratri Puja, Mother Worship. This is the book that Swamiji has produced, which is the best introduction that you could have to the 10 days that are coming up. And remember this, what's called now the Me Too movement? Well, the Indian scriptures have been way ahead of their time, and worship of the Divine Mother is greatly exalted in this tradition, and you will enjoy that adoration and that learning experience during Mother Worship here in the ashram from Friday, October 5th until Sunday, October 14th. And these little excerpts will give you a feeling for Swamiji's divine treatment of the Devi, of the Divine Mother, and open your hearts and your minds. Let your life flow as a stream of prayer to the Goddess, who is the destroyer of all impurities, bestower of all blessings, and the supreme destination of all the souls that wander through the forest of the world process. Many a battle must be fought, many an illusion must be broken, many a rare quality of head and heart must unfold, in order that your soul may reach its ultimate destination. In this process, you must turn to the Divine Mother for guidance, support, removal of obstacles, endowment of divine virtues, and enlightenment. The compassionate Mother awaits the return of every one of her children or individual souls from the world process. Even while her delusive force has its way, her compassion towards every one of her children is unfailing. No matter how far you may wander in the forest of the world process, you are never far away from the Divine Mother. You are ever enfolded in her arms. Your soul is being held in the compassionate hands of the Goddess, and she is closer to you than your very breath, closer than your very heart. She is the material out of which the intellect, mind, and senses have been fashioned. Yet due to ignorance, you experience a sense of separation from the Mother through the long dream of the world process. The Divine Mother manifests in the external universe as the destroyer in the form of Durga, as the granter of prosperity in the form of Lakshmi, and as the bestower of talent, creativity, and knowledge in the form of Saraswati. Similarly, she manifests internally in every individual as the terrible Durga for the removal of all obstacles, as the graceful Lakshmi for the revival of divine qualities, and as the luminous Saraswati to bring illumination and dispel the darkness of ignorance. In the plan of mother worship, the goddess, in the form of Durga, causes demolition of the castles created by ignorance. Goddess Lakshmi constructs the palace of sadhana, spiritual discipline, and creates the gardens of divine qualities. Goddess Saraswati shines as the moon, bathing the palace and the gardens with her gentle light. The world, with all its incredible beauty, gives only a mere hint of the glory and majesty of the Mother. You can imagine then how glorious and how beautiful the Mother must be. Even in the midst of encircling gloom and despair, you must be able to feel the presence of the Goddess. Once this awareness develops, a unique joy will surge in your heart. Far behind her terrifying mask, you have seen behind her terrifying mask, you have seen the compassionate eyes of the Mother. Look within, be still, and feel the presence of the Mother. She has enfolded your soul in her loving arms. Her loving fingers move through your thoughts, desires, and feelings. Her touch courses through your pranas or vital forces, and her smiles and frowns constitute your joys and sorrows. If your mind becomes filled with the awareness that your life is permeated by the Goddess, and the world around you is filled with the glory of the Goddess, then a great miracle takes place. The Goddess removes the veil of illusion from your mind, and you attain the ultimate victory of your life. In human relationships, when you are misunderstood, scolded, or abused, you should not develop animosity towards the source. Rather, you must realize that people are nothing but puppets in the hands of the Devi, and it is the Devi who is testing your patience and endurance. By developing patience and endurance, you are worshiping the Devi in a profound way. The Devi does not simply need tender flowers from the garden. She needs flowers cultivated in the heart, flowers of patience, endurance, tenacity, and an invincible spiritual movement that is not thwarted by anything. Even though you may not completely control the negative traits of your personality, the mere recognition that they should not be there is a sign of divine grace. You should be able to detect every expression of unsaintly qualities as far into your personality, and know that with the help of the Mother, you are going to throw them off, no matter how long it takes. Control of speech is the visible manifestation of the goddess. Words must be gentle. They must enlighten the hearts of others. They should not create disharmony nor injure the feelings of others. Through positive words and thoughts, the goddess is adored in an intensive manner. When she is properly adored, your consciousness continues to expand until you become fully established in the realization, I am Brahman, the Absolute Self. By acquiring good qualities, you become like a breath of spring, bringing joy into the hearts of others. Your presence should be inspiring to others. You should not be like a fiery breath of hot summer that causes pain and agony in the hearts of others, or like a cold frost that causes the flowers of human expectations to wither away. There is no blessing greater than understanding and knowledge, and no calamity greater than misunderstanding and ignorance. The goddess is the bestower of inspiration. By adoring her, you overcome inertia and the sense of boredom in life. You become a highly creative person, for the goddess plays her veena through your personality with great joy. Every day you have a choice. You can either keep ducking into the stream of ignorance and move from illusion to illusion, or you can enter the stream of knowledge and recapture your essential identity as the divine self. One who makes the right choice emerges victorious and attains the goal of life, self-realization. These were all excerpts from that book, very tempting book. And let me conclude with one prayer. This is all Swamiji's wonderful writings. It's entitled, Flow Through Me. O Goddess, withdraw this illusory veil from before my eyes. Flow through my tongue so that I may praise thy infinite glory. Flow through my hands so that I may serve thee in all. Flow through my heart so that I may gather the clouds of divine feelings that rain down the waters of cosmic love. Flow through my chitta, or mind, so that I may remember thee at all times. Flow through my intellect so that I may realize I and the Mother are one. We are indeed blessed by Swamiji's words. Swamiji, you still eating? Should we open the floor? We're going to open the floor, so hang on. Tell you about being in the
This is a time that Swamiji has set aside to answer any questions that you have. Any questions at all that will help you to grow and mature and be more joyous. So please raise your hand if you have any question, and Kanishka will bring you the microphone. Remember to speak into the live tip end of the microphone so that we can all hear you.
Swamiji, when we notice an undesirable quality come up after an incident, say an irritation or something, what is the best thing to do at that moment when we realize it and see it? Then what?
You have to first try to have a grasp of the situation. If something negative has happened in you, because your leg has been broken, then what will you do? No matter how negative, you have to find a doctor. But if negative has come and you are well, now it is in your hand to handle the negative by allowing the formula 3S. While the negative is there, turn to your japa and develop a visualization that in divine hand this negative will blow away. And stay with it and try to express it try to get yourself involved in any type of activity that takes you away from that and puts your mind in a positive way. So that's what to be done. What one should avoid is to develop the count, how many times I have done this negative. Get away from mathematics.
Swamiji, my question is, can you explain what toto means?
What
T-O-T-O, toto.
toto means?
What toto means? Yes, toto.
I think Google is better qualified. Ask the Google. Better qualified than me. If you are asking about any particular sect or any spiritual type of a practice done by somewhere, then you have to explain to me what it. Then I can explain whether the toto is totally good or not. Simply say toto, then it is just a riddle.
Well, I read it in the Gita by Swami Jyotirmayananda and also in the book Sadhana by Swami Jyotirmayananda. And what I've understood is I can't hardly understand or explain, but it's like becoming kind of one with everything, like transcending.
Oh, you are referring to Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi means thou art that. Sanskrit word tata means that, the absolute. And that's what it means. The truth behind the whole world is God. People greet, say, Om Tat Sat. That is the truth. So we resolve the problem of toto. Don't go to Google. Google doesn't know it about. Okay. Is Narayan there?
Pranam Gurudev, Om Tat Sat everyone. Tonight I'll be speaking on the fifth mantra of the second section of Kena Upanishad. Now, this is the concluding mantra of this section. Kena Upanishad is in the form of a dialogue between the teacher and the student. And in this mantra, the Guru continues to instruct the student. He says, if one knows Brahman within this human embodiment, then there is absolute truth. If one knows not, there will be great loss. The wise, seeing the one Atman in all things, transcends this world and attains immortality. This is a great, profound statement. And we'll take it piece by piece. So the first section, if one knows Brahman within this human embodiment, then there is absolute truth. If one knows not, then there will be great loss. No pressure. This first point emphasizes that we need to reflect upon the great opportunity that we have to realize that absolute self, to realize that I am. And this is very clearly presented in Shankaracharya's great scripture, the Vivek Chudamani. It translates to the crest jewel of discrimination. And he says that there are three rarities in this universe. The first is the human embodiment. Even rarer than the human embodiment is to find an enlightened sage under which to study and to learn from. And even rarer than that is the burning aspiration for realization of the self, burning aspiration for liberation. So the human embodiment, why is the human embodiment so special? What distinguishes humans from other animal forms? Humans are endowed with the faculty of reason, right? And we have the potential to expand our consciousness. We have the ability to think thoughts and feel emotions, and we also have the ability to know that we are thinking thoughts and feeling emotions, right? So the human embodiment has tremendous potential. And the second rarity is the guru, right? An enlightened sage under which to study, to follow in the path of the guru, to listen, to assimilate the teachings, and to believe firmly that what the guru is saying is true. Right? That faith in the guru, that shraddha that we spoke of last time in the guru, is extremely important. And third is the burning aspiration for realization of the self. Why realize the self? All agitations of the mind are due to identifying with the contents of consciousness rather than consciousness itself. Identifying with the projections on the screen rather than the screen itself. And I'd like to reiterate a couple of these, the previous mantras presented in Kena Upanishad to drive home this point. It's very clearly stated. It says, "Not that which is revealed by speech, but that which gives rise to speech. Know that alone to be Brahman. Not that which is thought by the mind, but by which they say the mind is made to think. Know that alone to be Brahman. Not that which is seen by the eye, but by which the eyes are able to see. Know that alone to be Brahman. Not that which is heard by the ear, but by which the ears are able to hear. Know that to be the absolute Brahman. Not that which is forced by the pranas, but that which governs the pranas themselves. Know that to be the pure Brahman." So as long as we identify with the ego in our ignorance, right, we will always be swinging between gain and loss, attachment and hatred. But once we follow the path of integral yoga, perform our selfless actions without worrying about the results, practicing unconditional love, promoting good feeling in the heart, develop our willpower through the practice of concentration, meditation, and self-inquiry, our consciousness begins to expand, and we realize that all objects of cognition, all objects of perception, all thoughts and emotions are not the source of happiness, right? It's the underlying substratum of all that is. It is that pure awareness that is the pure bliss. So that's the first section. In the second section, the teacher goes on to say, I'll read it verbatim. He says, The wise, seeing the one Atman in all things, transcends this world and attains immortality. So this to me draws the picture of Krishna blowing the conch before the Mahabharata war. The conch symbolizes, the conch is known as the Panchajanya, right? Which points to 5 components of experience. We have Sat, Chit, Ananda, names and forms. And with a conditioned mind, all of these 5 are mixed up. But Lord Krishna, before this Mahabharata war, the war of the mind, right? He blows this conch to separate Sat, Chit, Ananda from names and forms. And that is pure awareness, right? And that is the goal of practicing yoga and practicing self-inquiry. And thus concludes the second section. We'll continue with the third section next time. Thank you, Swamiji. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you so much. Ashwin?
Pranam Gurudev. Om Tat Sat. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about allergies. You know, we hear a lot about allergies and where they come from, and, you know, really they create a tremendous amount of inflammation in the body. And really what it boils down to is an immune system that is overreacting, that is upset about something and has become, over time, hypervigilant. And there's a few different reasons why the immune system actually mounts such an unfavorable response to things that oftentimes we're exposed to in day-to-day. And there's some common reasons. One common reason is unresolved bacterial, viral, or fungal infections in the body. And these kinds of unresolved infections actually keep the immune system on high alert. Another reason is exposure to heavy metals and organic solvents that oftentimes really they accumulate in connective tissue and adipose tissue to make the immune system upset. And finally, food sensitivity, certain foods that we may be eating and drinking and exposed to that actually create that heightened inflammatory state in the body. So there's a few different things that we can use to reduce this inflammatory burden and actually lessen the severity of allergies. And sometimes people can actually, by practicing certain healthy practices, can actually overcome allergies and even autoimmune conditions. And the way to do this is to really remember 10 words. So the first 5 words, it's like a poem because all these words rhyme. So what we want to do is we want to eat less meat, teat, wheat, and sweet. Less meat, less dairy, less processed grains, and less sugar. All of these things actually throw gasoline on the fire of inflammation. Now what shall we eat more of? We shall eat more roots, fruits, leaves, and flowers. Roots are carrots, beets, turnips, radishes, ginger, and turmeric. Fruits to one's heart's content. Leaves include spinach, kale, green tea, all the leafy green vegetables. And then flowers, these are actually the cruciferous vegetables. The flowers include broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, cabbage. All of these are the cruciferous vegetables. They're called cruciferous because they actually grow in the shape of a cross. The root system goes straight down. The leaves come out horizontal, parallel to the ground, and then the flower comes up. So if you look at from a cross section, it looks like the shape of a cross. These are cruciferous vegetables, and all of these roots, fruits, leaves, and flowers actually contain tremendous anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that we can incorporate into our day-to-day life to minimize the burden of the inflammation in the body. Also, the 40% of our immune system is in the digestive tract. So eating sufficient quantities of fiber. In modern science, we've actually had to increase our recommendations with regard to dietary fiber intake on a daily basis from what was previously recommended of 35 grams to increasing it to 40 grams. Now, fiber is good because it maintains the good bacteria inside the digestive tract, the microbiome. And that also helps to reduce the inflammatory burden in the body. Lastly, practice of regular exercise. Regular aerobic exercise is one of the best anti-inflammatory practices that we can adopt. And finally, good sleep. It's during the deepest stage of sleep that the body dissolves away inflammation. It's during REM sleep, which is when our muscles relax, that our core body temperature decreases slightly. It's like an icing mechanism for the entire body. And that also actually reduces the inflammatory burden. Using all these techniques, we can actually make headway against chronic allergies, allergic symptoms, and even some autoimmune condition. More in my next time. Pranam Swamiji.
Okay, very nice.
And we thank their Divine Mother, Arati Devi, Swami Aradananda, for in this birth being the mother of both Narayan and Ashwin. Quite a blessing to us. Like to thank everyone who made the dinner. The prime mover of the dinner was, of course, Rajneesh. But he always has a cheerful band of choppers, stirrers, mushers, and grinders helping him prepare the food, the sous chefs. So we thank him for being such a persistent, following in the footsteps of his guru, who used to cook everything for us on dinner nights. Yeah. So he's following in Swamiji's tradition. And a reminder, here's our poster. We now have an official poster that you can see or normally on the piano. I mentioned Navaratri Puja before. We will be celebrating the 10 days of Devi Puja, Navaratri Puja, Mother Worship, known by many names here, starting on Friday, October 5th, through Saturday, October 13th. That's at 7 p.m. And during that time, Swamiji will be studying the Devi Mahatmya scripture with us and giving his mystic insight into how to employ all those colorful stories of the Devi and the demons into our own spiritual maturing and transforming process. And we have ritualistically the waving of light, arati, and the offering of rice, archana. And then we have a delicious feast prepared, one sumptuous dish that will come to you each night. So if you come from work and you don't have time to eat, don't worry, we're going to take care of you very well each evening. On the final night, October 14th, Sunday, October 14th, that will be the conclusion of the 10-day period, and it will be Vijaya Dashmi Day, the day of victory, and we begin at 5 o'clock for that festivity. During that time, our normal classes will not be held. That means now, for about a week and a half, things will be the normal scheduling. That means on Tuesday and Wednesday, Swamiji lectures on Yoga Vashishta at 7:30. On Friday, he lectures on the Ramayana as written by Saint Tulsidas Ji. On Saturdays, a normal schedule, we have pranayama at 7, and Swamiji joins us for guided meditation at 7:30. So for about a week and a half, that will be our normal schedule. Also on Thursdays, although Swamiji is not with us, there's a discussion group that meets here in the Satsang room, discussing many spiritual topics of interest to the disciples who attend. So remember, join us for Navaratri Puja, and remember that the normal schedule will not be in effect during that time. And Swamiji would like you to come forward for Kumkum blessing now.
Okay, we'll do the prayer for. Prayer for health, long life, peace, prosperity, and enlightenment for all of you. Prayer for peace, prosperity, and mukti for all. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashidduka Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om.